Nick Woltemade has been nothing short of sensational for Newcastle since he signed in the summer. And of course, he's now scoring goals for Germany as well. But if you can remember back to the summer when we signed him, there was a lot of Idiotgate going on, especially from Bayern Munich, Karl-Heinz Rummenigge making the comments. But Woltemade stayed very quiet on the situation. But that is until now. He's now decided in an interview in Germany to explain his side of the story with that. Anthony Elanga has left the Swedish camp for apparently personal reasons, but there is suspicions it might be disciplinary again, so we'll take a look at that. And Eddie Howe, of course, has a huge decision. Well, he's probably got 2 or 3, but who does he go with in goal for Saturday's game against Manchester City? We'll take a look. Hi everybody, welcome back to the Toon Review. My name is Paul. This is your latest Newcastle United news video. Thank you very much for tuning in. We'll start off with the big German, Nick Woltemade, of course, and what a signing he's been for us. Probably not our first choice, I think that's fair to say, given the players that we did try and approach in the summer, but he's been fantastic, and he's shown us some fantastic goals, fantastic movement, fantastic passer of the ball. He's got it all. Now, whether he's playing in the right position at the moment or not as an out-and-out striker, we will see in time. However, if you remember back to the summer, Karl-Heinz Rummenigge and various dignitaries, shall we say, from Bayern Munich, made sort of accusations against Newcastle. I call it Idiotgate because the club were called idiots for signing Woltemade. The player himself, he stayed very quiet on it, but he has now opened up. And it's a very interesting interview that he's actually given because he says, my teammates commented on it. I didn't at the time because I didn't think it was the right thing to do. Now, if you remember when Rummenigge first made the comments, or one of his comments, the likes of Bruno and a few others from the Newcastle United came out and defended Woltemade, said he was a great player, a great guy, but also defended the football club. And they didn't want the football club's name being tarnished again for no apparent reason, just because we paid a certain amount of money for a player. So that was fine for me, for the players to come out and defend it. He said, a lot was made of my name, Bayern, and the transfer fee during the summer, and that was the story of the summer over in Germany. To answer your question, the headlines everywhere said idiots. But I read Mr. Rummenigge's entire statement. It was certainly somewhat unfortunate, but not quite so dramatic. So he's kind of playing it down, and this isn't the first time that this has actually been played down. There's been other people playing it down, saying that it was maybe interpreted a little bit wrong. He didn't really call Newcastle United idiots. He was just making a point of Bayern wanted the player, but they weren't prepared to stretch that kind of money that Newcastle United did. Now, look, I think there's many ways you can look at this, whether Rummenigge said it or not. I clearly think he did, because he's made more than just the one comment throughout the summer about Newcastle United and Nick Woltemade. It was clear that Bayern wanted him. It was also clear that, they weren't prepared to pay the money for him. So for me, calling us idiots was a bit silly. And if it has been a misinterpretation, he still said the word. So I don't know what he's trying to get at. Woltemade did state that stars like Kimmich and Goretzka made it clear that his move to Newcastle was a good one, despite not being able to join them in Munich. Now, at the time, there wasn't many Germany players that sort of were reported over here as to be promoting the move, which that's what I think Woltemade's stating there, is that there was players, even Bayern Munich players, stating that it was a good move for Nick and they wished him well, even though he didn't join them in Munich. He said, when I arrived at the national team, everyone congratulated me, Bayern players also. When they see a player taking a step forward, you get congratulations. That was the case for me too. There were no negative comments, especially since my circumstances were special. So, look, Nick Woltemade is coming across and as again the nice guy that he's already been reported that he is. He doesn't want any hassle. He doesn't want to. He seemingly doesn't want to drag anybody through the mud. And I think that's why he's done this interview. But to be fair, You know, he shouldn't have to come out and state this because nothing should have been said in the first place. Everybody should have congratulated him. There should have been no bad blood about it, but clearly there was from Bayern Munich's end. You know, because Rummenigge is not the only one from Bayern's, shall we say, directors or that side of things that have come out and made comments since the signing. Now, Rummenigge had blasted PIF and Newcastle. This is what Rummenigge said. I can only congratulate them in Stuttgart for finding, so to speak, an idiot who would pay that much money, because we certainly wouldn't have done that. I said we're coming in on a scale that I no longer find acceptable. We shouldn't meet all of their demands. Now, as nice as Nick Woltemade is, I'm sorry, but that clearly states that he's calling Newcastle United idiots because an idiot would only pay that much, and we did. The players and their agents must also be careful not to trap themselves. The money has to come from somewhere, and that comes from expanding competitions or creating new ones. So, look, Nick Woltemade is a Newcastle United player now. As far as I'm concerned, they can say what he wants about him. The best thing that Nick Woltemade can do is basically just keep scoring goals. I mean, some of the goals he scored for Newcastle United have been absolutely terrific this season. He's now scoring for Germany as well. There was questions asked about whether he should be starting for Germany as well. He's proven all his doubt is wrong. But I think he does come across as a genuine, lovely guy in this interview. He doesn't want to drag anybody through the mud. He just wants to get on with his football. And quite frankly, let him play his football. We as fans or journalists can comment on it and can kick off with Rummenigge. He just wants to get on with life. And as far as I'm concerned, it's a fantastic interview. And I just hope he comes back and smashes some more goals in for us. Now, one player that has really struggled since signing for Newcastle United is, of course, Anthony Elanga. And it's been reported this time he has left the Swedish camp early for personal reasons. Now, it doesn't say what the personal reasons are. And quite frankly, the report just kind of gets you asking more and more questions as to what's going on with Anthony Elanga. Of course, he made those comments about the tactics and stuff in the last international break before John Dahl Tomasson was relieved of his duties, shall we say, and Graham Potter took over. But you know what? They still have a lifeline, of course, of qualifying for the World Cup through the Nations League. But it's going disastrous. The World Cup qualifying has been a shambles. And of course, various players have been blamed for that. There's been multiple withdrawals from the Sweden squad during the current break. But the initial stance is that it's different for the Newcastle United attacker. Now, a spokesperson for the national team says he left the camp due to private reasons and subsequently he won't be available against Slovenia. Of course, Sweden say there's nothing further to comment on. It just gets you thinking because, of course, he's had disciplinary problems with Sweden before. Even though maybe they're playing this one down, he has been sort of joking around with Potter on interviews and things like that and on the training pitch. So it doesn't seem like there's anything there with the manager. I'm not sure about the players. Of course, you know, people do fall out. People do fall out when they're away and they're together for good length of time, I guess. However, Anthony Elanga, I think maybe a good thing he comes back early, gets his head down and gets a bit of training in before the Man City game because we need him. We need Anthony Elanga firing all cylinders, guys. And it's all right saying, oh, he's a complete waste of money, he's this and that. But we need him. We need him in this squad and we need this player to start firing. Because it's for the benefit of Newcastle United. And if he doesn't, then £55 million is an awful lot of money, which I don't want to write off as an absolute failure because I want him to do well. But from what I've seen, I mean, I'm nervous about it, to be honest. I'm very nervous. But he's now coming home to train again and hopefully get ready for the Manchester City game. Now, finally, the biggest decision, I think one of the biggest decisions that Eddie Howe's got to make ahead of the Manchester City game is which goalkeeper starts. If you look through all the reporting this week, this week, we're only on Monday, what am I talking about? But you know what I mean. Over the weekend, heading into this week, has been the question of the goalkeeper. And if you look at the journalists, various Northeast journalists, and they're all having the say on what might happen. Dominic Sir made a good comment saying that football doesn't stand still. And nowadays, you need a goalkeeper who can actually play football. He's not just there to save the ball. And that kind of reacts to a lot of comments that are made about Nick Pope, is that he's a fantastic shot stopper, but he's terrible with his feet. He's not a footballing goalkeeper, and football does not stand still. Non-footballing goalkeepers now are well and truly going to the back burner, and goalkeepers that can play with their feet and can pass it around a little bit, they are moving forward now, and that's where you need to be. And I think that's why a lot of Newcastle fans as well are calling for Aaron Ramsdale for Saturday. It's a huge game. It's a huge decision for Eddie. Of course it is, because he's gone with Nick Pope. He's gone with his tried and trusted for so long now. But I think now is the time where he just needs to bite the bullet, take a bit of a risk, and bring in Ramsdale. He really does. And I'm all for Ramsdale starting, by the way. I think Nick Pope's had his chance. Too many errors, despite the fact he's made some great saves this season. I think Ramsdale is all-round better than Nick Pope. He's better with his feet. He's still a fantastic shot stopper as well. And the games I've seen him play for Newcastle, the couple of games he's played, he's looked very comfortable with the defence. He's played the ball out really well. He's commanded his box. Give him now the opportunity. Maybe do what he's done with Nick Pope. 10 games, and if he fails, he fails. But give him a chance. But who knows what Eddie will do. I mean, a lot of people think they know what Eddie's going to do. I don't want to go down that route, but that's the way it is at the minute. But there you go. That is the latest news, guys and girls. Thank you very much for tuning into the video. If you have enjoyed it, please don't forget to give it a like. And of course, if you are new to the channel, why not subscribe? It is completely free of charge. All we ask for is that you hit the notification bell so you never miss an upload or a live show. And of course, you can visit thetoonreview.com for all of your merchandise. There's some fantastic things on there. T-shirts, hoodies, hats, loads of stuff for the winter as well. You know, the beanies and everything. So get yourself to thetoonreview.com for that. And we will see you very, very soon. But in the meantime, take care.